So I think the only people that are afraid of the military is people that commit crimes or, you know, that are in criminal organizations. So.
And the combination of pure corruption and pure ignorance will be the death of this country. We're going to be back with a whole lot more after this. But just a quick reminder, you support us on this show, getting the word out with these hard-hitting reports by buying the subscriptions and the DVDs. But right now, for the holiday season, we have an incredible discount, $39.95 for the yearly Prison Planet subscription. You can share it with 5 other people, or you can get it with 18 of Alex's DVDs in shiny packages to give out as gifts at Christmas or any other holiday. And we would appreciate that support and urge you to do so. Give information instead of plastic junk and everything else. We'll be back in a moment with a whole lot more. Stay tuned.
If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the INFOWARS store at INFOWARS.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe INFOWARS t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at INFOWARS.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there, wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at INFOWARS.com today. The water filters, the canteens, it's all there. INFOWARS.com.
I'm Aaron Dykes, and we're back on the INFOWARS Nightly News. Of course, coming up, we have Pepe Escobar on everything geopolitical and a report from Alex Jones. But first, more news. Draconian EPA regulations to cause rolling blackouts. That's another Paul Joseph Watson report from today on how the cost of complying with draconian new EPA rules on carbon emissions will force coal plants in Texas to close and increase the likelihood of rolling blackouts as the Obama administration's vow to bankrupt the coal industry takes full effect. Now, of course, we reported on this several times earlier this year on Texas, the key state where more than 50% of power comes from the coal plants, all kinds of insider deals going on with that. But here today, the Austin American-Statesman admits what the White House and others said we were lying about previously. 10 months down the line, and the Austin American-Statesman reports today that Texas could face power shortages as soon as next year as aging plants are mothballed in response to new environmental standards, according to the state's grid operator and the organization that monitors U.S. power grids for the feds. The report by the North American Electric Reliability Corporation found that many older power plants in Texas will be retired rather than retrofitted to meet new federal emission standards, reports the Statesman. And then from the Statesman itself, it gets into how many of the well-meaning environmentalist groups are helping to really economically squeeze America even further. Of course, it's not just Texas with these coal plants. They supply to many other states. Environmental groups, however, argued that reserves are generally sufficient and will be augmented by energy-efficient measures and new power supplies already being planned. A recent report by the Clean Energy Group Consortium notes that the power providers have other means of handling the state's needs, such as offering customers discounts in exchange for curtailing their electric use when demand is straining the grid. So you've got all this phony environmentalism, the climate change lies, and more, but now they're actually going to be clamping down on industry and American consumption through it. Not that that's entirely a bad deal, but the way they're doing it fits with Agenda 21 and more. So that's in the Austin American-Statesman today. And just to remind you, Alex Jones did several reports breaking this down. Again, the White House accused him of lying about it. We're going to play one of those reports right now.
Obama hit struggling Americans with energy rate hikes. Following Barack Obama's vow to bankrupt the coal power industry, Americans are set to be hit with a wave of utility bill hikes as draconian EPA regulations drive up the cost of energy.
So if somebody wants to build a coal power plant, they can. It's just that it will bankrupt them because they're going to be charged a huge sum for all that greenhouse gas that's being emitted.
The Obama administration's crusade against coal-fired power plants, which was launched on the back of discredited junk science about hyped global warming threats, has little to do with improving the environment and everything to do with lowering living standards by creating artificial scarcity. The EPA has now listed as harmful carbon dioxide that is part of the life cycle of the planet. New EPA rules dictate that utility companies will be forced to spend an initial outlay of $800 million to conform with regulations that mandate harmful emissions be reduced under the Clean Air Act. And yet power plants supplied by General Electric, one of Barack Obama's biggest campaign contributors, have received an EPA waiver and will not be subject to the new regulations. The new rules will exacerbate the problem of rolling blackouts, warns Donna Nelson, head of the Texas Public Utility Commission. Nelson said, quote, "I have no doubt in my mind that this rule will result in reliability issues and rolling outages in Texas." Obama's strict enforcement of draconian EPA regulations has led to new clean-burning coal-fired plants being mothballed and other existing ones being shut down, which has in turn led to Texas and other states becoming energy dependent. All of this, of course, will lead to significantly higher utility bills for U.S. citizens who are being assaulted with more and more expenses, even as the threat of a double-dip recession lowers living standards.
And so how many different ways in the midst of this vast economic global crisis have they said that it's the populations who have to pay for all these problems, whether it's economic or environmental or what have you, while the banks get all these secret insider loans and much worse. Now, we also have a report that Darrin McBreen filed on this subject a few months ago as well. Again, we've been covering this in depth. Alex has other videos on it too. Let's go to that now.
I'm Darrin McBreen with INFOWARS Nightly News, and I'm here today at the Texas State Capitol. And we're about to find out if the people of Austin are aware that they are about to be hit by a wave of utility bill hikes as new EPA regulations drive up the cost of energy.
What do you think about paying higher utility bills because of the EPA's new regulations against power plants?
You know, there may be some new regulations coming up against power plants at this point, but unfortunately right now I think that our citizens statewide and nationwide basically overburdened, especially with today's economic developments and situations that are going on. I think rate hikes should be at a minimal to at least try to alleviate some of the burden on our taxpayers and our citizens nationwide and statewide.
I know a lot of people that are going to be not only shocked but a little bit irritated about that as well.
Sure.
I mean, they're already, because it's such a hot summer.
Exactly.
You know, everybody's bills is already up through the roof.
You're already paying through the roof because the ACs are running nonstop, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, on top of that, and with a downturn economy, yeah, it's doesn't seem to jive that well.
Of course, I don't want to pay higher utility bills. They're already extremely high right now as it is.
Well, I don't want to pay more because of the carbon dioxide thing. That doesn't seem right, especially if it's not even proven.
Generally, I prefer regulations that deter pollution and paying a little bit more for that than an unregulated environment.
It all has to be regulated some way, right? It's going to mess our environment up.
I understand the tax on carbon footprints, but I mean, who's you know, getting a new Lexus, you know what I mean?
Do you think that carbon dioxide is dangerous?
I think carbon dioxide can be very dangerous.
Okay, what do plants breathe?
Carbon dioxide.
Yeah, I think carbon dioxide is definitely dangerous. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any like rules and laws to prevent it being.
What do plants breathe?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide is turned into oxygen by plants. So I mean, it has to be in the world.
Obviously, it's not all dangerous. Carbon dioxide isn't a dangerous gas, but when there's too much of it, it's a problem.
Carbon dioxide, even though it's a natural gas consumed by plants, it can be dangerous because, well, everyone says it has to do with global warming.
Behind me is the Holly Street Power Plant. It was partially closed in 2004 and officially shut down in 2007. Now it's simply a reminder of Austin's energy independence.
What do you think about the fact that General Electric, one of Obama's biggest donors, that they get a waiver and they will not be subject to the regulations?
That sounds like politics and lobbyists at work. I mean, it's government, right?
Exactly.
No surprise.
Sounds plausible.
Yeah, it sounds possible. There's no surprise about that.
General Electric doesn't need any favors from anybody. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Are you aware that some of these new regulations are also shutting down power plants, and this is causing some of the rolling blackouts throughout Texas?
No, I wasn't familiar with that, actually. Didn't realize that was going on.
Lobbyists make a lot of money striking these deals. There's a lot of things that we don't know, and how government, the tax breaks, the incentives, loopholes, you name it. So I think it's just one more to add to the list.
Well, as you can see, Alex, the people here in Austin, they're aware that their utility rates are going up, but they're not sure of the real cause. This is Darrin McBreen with INFOWARS Nightly News.
And of course, there's a lot more to discuss on that. Another story about energy, a dead heat crematorium to sell power for National Grid. Just kind of interesting. A crematorium is planning to become the first in the UK to generate electricity to sell the National Grid by using heat from its furnaces, off the dead essentially. And it says the first phase, due to be completed early next year, will see a heat recovery system fitted to one burner, providing heat for the building. A second phase is planned, which then will see the installation of turbines on the other two burners to generate electricity. A series of open days are planned in an effort to get public support for the scheme. Now, another part that's interesting about that story is there's a story within that story. It talks about how many crematoria are currently replacing their furnaces to meet new government targets on preventing mercury emissions from escaping into the atmosphere, undeniably toxic. Up to 16% of all mercury emitted in the UK comes from the crematoriums because of the fillings in the teeth. Left unchecked, they predict it'll rise to 25%. The substance accumulates in air, water. It's harmful to brains, kidneys, nervous system, and unborn children. So why are we allowing dentists to put it in our teeth? Good question. Other news about toxic substances. Kurt Nemo has detailed a new study, a 2011 study, proving fluoride causes brain damage. A study conducted by scientists in India demonstrates that consumption of sodium fluoride results in brain and neurological damage, published by K. Pratap Reddy of the University College of Sciences, Osmania University in Hyderabad, India. Now, we have some images from that study showing what actually happens to the nerve cells. We're going to pull that up right here. And on the left, you see undamaged, healthy nerve cells. And on the right, you see what happens under the conditions of fluoride, kind of a larger nerve cell on the left, smaller ones on the right. And you can find that report linked in Kurt's article on INFOWARS.com. But really, this stuff does have a powerful effect. We've had the experts on, Dr. Paul Conant and others. So please look into that if you're not already informed. Meanwhile, it's not just fluoride they want to add to our water supply. Now there's yet another call to add lithium to the water supply, this time from a psychiatrist in Ireland who wants it added to the water, first in a small-town test, later to the whole country. And this person cites a British Journal of Psychiatry study from when they added lithium to the water supplies in many towns in Texas. He said there was already a strong precedent for governments